Okay, so they've just kicked me off the live. If you continue to kick me off the live, there is no helping you. All right? There is no helping you. You will, I'm almost certain, face eternal consequences for this. Anyone that targets me, whether it be a suppressing of the evidence, of the information, of the proof that I'm sharing to humanity to protect the children, it is an attack against creation. It is an attack against children. And it is an attack against the Creator. And you will be facing eternal consequences, I'm almost certain. So I'm trying to help you. All I can do is just warn you and advise you. It's up to you to make the right choice now in moving forward in this, whatever you've been part of. So every time you kick me off, I don't think there's anything I can do to help you. You're actually just digging yourself into a very serious situation. Those of you who are involved in this, and those of you that are suppressing me, attacking me financially, or threatening me, and have done in the past, I don't think there's going to be any mercy for what you may be facing in this. I've been trying to help you for 4 years. I've been trying it all the way along. Even before I publicized the evidence, I was sending emails saying, look, you need to get me involved with conversations. All right, you need to involve me within the government if necessary, so that I can start talking about this and we actually work this out in a way where we save as many people, including people within the system that are part of this. But you've had 4 years to do the right thing, and now you're just kicking me off the lives and you're suppressing the evidence. And you've really got to start letting this sink in. The consequences here to you in all of this. And it doesn't matter if you're using false names, all right? If you attack me, or you suppress me, or you try and undermine the evidence, which is so obviously there, or you financially attack me, you are attacking creation, you are attacking the children, and you are attacking the Creator. And you will, as much as I want to help you, I can't see how you're going to escape eternal problems from this. So just think about that every time I'm being kicked off, all right? Every time you're kicking me off the live. So Sting had featured in the first Dune movie, that becomes relevant to Spice, possibly referring to blood to extend life, and to a release date of a new Dune movie coming out in 2026 this year. And it comes out on the exact same day as Doomsday that links to me via its directors. So it's an Avengers movie, and the Rossi brothers, I think it is, or whatever their surname is, they also created, obviously, the MC Universe, other movies, and also The Grey Man. And The Grey Man appears to be making a reference to the Grey Pope, and that movie was released in July 2022, 2 days after Anthony Roberts resigned from Exbourne Manor, and the book came out on the exact same day that the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales was released or published, and that is connected to me, as I said earlier. So this Dune movie, Sting was in it. We've just been talking about Sting, and that links into, as I've said, Doomsday, which is coming out at the same time as the third Dune movie this year in December. Sopdet, also known as Sothis to the Greeks, is the ancient Egyptian goddess who represents the stars. Okay, so we're going into the stars there. I'm not going to worry about moving on that bit. So we're going to go back to the alien evidence now, coming in from the video that I was showing you. Okay, so we had 10. Let me go into the start of it. So here's artificial intelligence. Well, here's an article from the CNN. You can see it's dated fairly recently, April this year. At least 10 people have tied to sensitive US research have died or disappeared in recent years, sparking a federal investigation. This is a quick summary, just searching in there. It says around a dozen scientists and researchers in aerospace, nuclear physics and space research have died or gone missing since 2022. Well, what was that, everybody? That was when I started my investigation, all right, in 2022. Now, you look at the movie that came out in 1973, before I was even born, called Soylent Green. It was about an innocent police officer in 2022 that was uncovering a dystopian future, all right? Before I was even born, I was born in 77. That movie came out 73 and was about a lone police officer in 2022. Now, the movie was based on a book, okay? And that book was from the year 1966, which is the year of the foundation of the Church of Satan. And the book was based on the year 1999. So the movie was based in the year 2022, and the book was based in the year 1999. Well, 1999 is when the re-establishment of the Church of Satan occurred after the death of its original founder in 1997, in November, I think it was. Is it November, August, October, I believe, or November? I can't remember. No, it was October, I think. Yeah, October. And they were worried about putting a particular date because it's so close to the date of Jimmy Savile's death. So it looks as though they changed it because Jimmy Savile's death was on the 29th of October 2011, and there's a discrepancy. All right, so there's supposedly the original founder of the Church of Satan died on the 29th of October that year. Sorry, in 1997, within 2 months of Princess Diana. But there was a discrepancy. They then changed it, and his family, Anton LaVey's family, criticised or raised concerns that the date of his death wasn't matched on the birth certificate. Now that was deliberate, I think, because almost guaranteed this is the case, because they realised that it matched the date of the death of Jimmy Savile and would make that link back to the Church of Satan, to his connection to the royal family. You see, so they've done it deliberately for me to expose it. This is all being documented. So anyway, all of these scientists go missing. There's speculation that there's death, that there's suicide, or whatever, you see. So including natural deaths, etc. So on the 29th of June 2026, so very recently, a video of David Icke appeared on my TikTok showing a section of an interview that he did with Terry Wogan. And him mentioning the stars. This was after I'd been publicising information of the importance of the stars and how now being linked to the research. And actually, every star that we've looked at that has relevance links to myself and person A in Australia. Unbelievably, everybody, it's there through the Company's House records, which shows how relevant. And those stars link into the moral conscience of the DNA being ingrained within humanity through the bloodline, which has then been deceived, and through the feminine divinity, which they have appeared to remove from history, everybody. Now, hopefully I can play this video and show you this little clip just of what David Icke said. Oh, I can't, can I? Because I'm not in it. Hold on, let me go to the actual notes. So it's... Okay. Somebody sent me a message. The only reason I got it off the screen straight away, because I didn't want names being banded around on here publicly. So that's why I didn't spend time reading it in case it was important. I just didn't want to have the name there and affect people too much, whoever it was. Oh, all right. I need to go back into that. Search Icke. Okay, here we are. Right, so hopefully this will play.
So this is a fact.
See, the world is not necessarily going to end, but the Earth is going to go through a series of geological changes that are necessary to make sure it doesn't end. That's the point.
Yeah. Did I see you say that turquoise is the color? What's turquoise going to do?
Well, there is an energy that comes from a being called the Godhead, which is, I mean, we talk about God. The Godhead is not a guy with a beard sitting on a cloud. It is a massive spirit, the basis of all creation. And coming out from this Godhead, round all creation, through all the stars, through all the planets and everything else, is the life force known as the light. I mean, the Bible refers to the light. And within this light are various other energies which have certain gifts. and these other energies have a frequency that is the same as all the colors. And the turquoise actually is the same frequency as an energy called love and wisdom. Therefore, when you wear that color, you attract it. When you wear black, you attract a color that is the opposite to love and all the things we wish to bring to the earth. It attracts another kind of energy, which is very.
But this is very hard. This is very hard on priests and nuns, isn't it?
Well, maybe that's a sign that maybe all the truth is not in the hands of the traditional church that has been with us over all these thousands of years.
Well, now, let me get the story right. The press claim that you claim to be the Son of God.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true?
Yes, you see, the thing is that it's quite funny, really. You know, 2,000 years ago, had a guy called Jesus sat here and said these same things, you would still be laughing. It's really, really funny that we've not really moved on that much. There have been many missions, if you like, over the last 12,000 years to try to free the earth from control by a force that is working against the Godhead. The Godhead is the basis of all love and wisdom and all the rest of it in the whole of creation. But there is another being, the Bible refers to it as Satan, the real name is Lucifer, who is trying to take over creation. And because of the very important part this particular planet plays in the whole, actually destroying this planet would be a major step forward in that direction. Therefore, for the last 12,000 years, the influence on this planet has been from this being and from the energy which he sends out. See, the world is not necessarily...
David Icke connects to all three of my families, okay, which are connected to the crimes, to the criminal network, to the blood of the children. David Icke is linked very quickly to the Hacklow International Advisory Board company that also connects to me. That's on page 40 of the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales, which also has Ingenious Film Partners, as I said on it. Now, I had an interview with David Icke's son, Gareth. It was very rushed. It was very quick. I could tell he was uneasy. Only had 15 minutes. And then I requested an interview with David Icke afterwards. Never had it. So I then publicised evidence linking him to the fraud and to the intelligence agencies that I had at that point. They then sent one of his colleagues, I believe, can't remember the name, a female colleague, onto my live stream saying you can't say these things. And it was like, I can, I've got evidence proving it. Okay. And they were going to get somebody to contact me to do an interview with David. Never heard anything again. Now, after that, I found a further connection into the intelligence agencies. So you've got a link, Hacklow International Advisory Board, another intelligence agency link, and all around where his record is. Now, remember, he links to all three of my families. All around where his record is, there are what appear to be drug-related companies. And it's very clear that the international drug trafficking trade is being what's used to hide, along with the bloodstock trade, the blood of the innocent, the children, and how that's being used in relation to the system. So, anyway, I've been aware of multiple scientists appearing to have died or gone missing since 2022 as I started exposing the fraud and later its connection to the blood. From 1977, the year I was born, key movies were released and events took place that appears to have been deliberately to prepare for an alien deception. If I awoke to who I may be and possibly lead to me uncovering deception within religion and its related motive for the harvesting of the blood of the innocent going back centuries. Now, it's interesting because David Icke alluded to a deception within religion there, didn't he? Which is interesting. So, but what I think they're hoping to do is to destroy all of Christianity. And this is written, sorry, let me just do this up. This is written within the Albert Pike letter. It says that the plan is to destroy Christianity and bring about the light of Lucifer. Now, that letter was removed from public view from the British Museum and Library in 1977, the year I was born, and the year the other person was also born. So it's interesting because obviously what David Icke was saying there has the ability to destroy Christianity. What I'm doing is coming in and saying, well, hold on, Christianity has been infiltrated. There has been deception. However, the foundation of it is absolutely spot on. love thy neighbor, thou shalt not kill. All right, these are two fundamental protection elements that was given to us through creation, through moral conscience, and through the feminine divinity, which has been removed deliberately, it seems, which is why you have all these, and have had for many, many centuries, male only, secret societies and organizations. They've, even now, some of them are just men only, all right, and they won't allow women. And this all comes into the transgenderism element there, where they're possibly actually making people have positions within these organizations and high profile positions within government who are potentially transgender, so that they are maintaining this element of making sure that only males have the dominant and the sorry, excuse me, are in control to maintain the removal of the feminine divinity, which actually will protect all of humanity by instilling it. Anyway, so it looks as though they were preparing a plan just in case myself and somebody else may wake up to who they may be in all of this, and actually prove the deception, going back in relation to the religions, but not destroying religions in doing so, but actually enforce the importance of faith through it. All right, because and understanding the danger of removing faith completely, which will potentially lead to complete control at the very least by these sinister people, and if not the end of all of creation through it. So in July 2022, as my investigation was being triggered through my inquiries, Elon Musk's brother acquired a drone company, and others with large followings and pushing an alien deception have also been linked to drone companies. This includes research in relation to Alex, what was his name? Not Dyers. It's completely gone out of my mind. I haven't got it in front of me. Spires. Alex Spires and his mum as well. All right. Researching them on Company's House go into and link to drone companies, both of them. All right. So let that just sink in, everybody. These are people that are trying to make you believe that there's aliens and alien deception or alien element in all of this, but they're linked to the drones, all right, which can be used as part of the deception, which enables the laundering of the money and the paying to these people through that deception, through that laundering, to play their parts in relation to what they're doing. Anyway, go and look at it if you don't believe me. I think his name was Kimball Musk. He bought a drone company in July 2022, the exact same month that Anthony Roberts resigned from Exbourne Manor, which triggered my investigation. People linked to the blood of the children and infiltrated Vatican. Oh, there we go. Yeah, let's go back a bit. Inquiries. Elon Musk's brother, acquired drone company. I've mentioned that. Since 2022, people linked to the blood of the children and the infiltrated Vatican have been trying to convince me of an alien existence on Earth or an apparent upcoming contact situation with aliens, and turned on me when I started to suspect a deception. This includes Deborah Evershed, that we come to later, Jane Evershed leading to Sasha Stone, David Emery, and they tried setting up a relationship with me online with somebody who was in Ireland called Grania, who was telling me she loved me and wanted me to move in with her. And of course, I had not long separated from my wife, so there could be nothing in that regard whatsoever. And then when I identified the deception, she was trying to drive me or convince me with aliens through Sasha Stone, David Emery, and that introduction was made via Deborah Evershed, and I realised that it was a deception, and then I was thrown under the bus by Grania. Okay, so she then showed her true colours, so I then realised what they were hoping to achieve through that. So this is the efforts they've gone to, okay, to try and convince me of aliens, everybody. An apparent upcoming situation and turned on me. You have done that. Others tried to use the church to try and convince me of Christ's connection to aliens. So this was Aisha Hart, who was part of God FM, is one of them. And she was trying to get me to believe in the alien side of things and how that was supposedly linking in with Christ, right? Part of the agenda as well. And she links into the judge in my criminal court case where I was unlawfully imprisoned. She also connects to Lloyd's Bank and makes connections into the Jeffrey Epstein links and also into CERN as well. church and to try and convince me of Christ's connection to aliens, and it was timed for several of my apparent closest supporters to turn on me as I got close to the truth of the apparent deception. So they had several people that were my closest supporters, who I was trusting in more than others, all suddenly turned on me when I started to identify the deception within Christianity and how that linked in with the blood. Since 2022, claimed military sightings of UAPs, which is previously UFOs, have increased significantly. And in 2024, drones were flying around the world, timed with an alien propaganda and the resignation of the Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, as other international collaborative deceptions were being attempted against me. At around this time, I was being fed information of an alien craft approaching Earth to coincide with information of a possible 7-year tribulation, and Donald Trump's announced Stargate project in January 2025 was timed to support this. So when you went in through Stargate companies, there was actually a company called Mothership, right, which tied in with information they tried feeding to me about a mothership coming to Earth, linking in with a 7-year tribulation. This was in 2025, and this was when I was talking about a 7-year tribulation potentially, and how that was tying in with a falsified apocalypse of an asteroid strike stemming from research that I've found. This is so complicated, I'm trying to remember it. Stemming in from research that I'd found in relation to Darren Brown and an apocalyptic deception of an asteroid hitting Earth in 2012. Well, that was what got me thinking about a apocalyptic deception that they may try and play to fit the agenda to get out of the evidence that I'm exposing. Hopefully that makes sense. Company's House records appear to have been manipulated to try and suggest an alien connection to information of serious crimes against children. A good example of that is, if you remember, the V series. Okay, so the V series came out, I think it was in the 1980s. So not long after we were born. I now believe this was deliberate as part of the plan, because they knew who we were, to set up an alien deception if it was ever required when we woke up to who we were, linking into the bloodline of Christ and how it ties back to obviously the deception within Christianity, but actually to enforce the importance of Christ through the moral conscience and through the love thy neighbor and thou shalt not kill. Anyway, this was the V series came out in the 1980s about lizards running the world, and they then peeled the skin off of their human skin to reveal themselves, okay, as aliens running the world. Now, they also revamped this and brought it back out in 2009. Now I know why they did that, because 2009 is when I became a director of Exbourne Manor Freehold Limited, and it is when the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales was incorporated. So they were trying, I suspect, based on all of the evidence, as I was becoming involved in Exbourne Manor, trying to manipulate where I might head with my evidence to fit the agenda that they were trying to carry for the deception they were trying to potentially play against me. Now, they're within the Pizzagate scandal. They then positioned V secretarial companies. Remember, that was called V, the series. Okay, so around the evidence of the Pizzagate scandal, they actually put a V secretarial company and timed it at a critical point where I would identify that it was a deception through the timing of everything else, you see. But they were trying to get me to believe that it was real. Now, also, somebody who had tried to, around the time of the Archbishop of Canterbury's resignation and the drones circulating the world, this group that was sent in towards me, there was various people that were sent to me that link into the apocalyptic deception. They were the ones that actually told me about the V series and that they were potentially running the world, the lizards, all right? And this is the perfect, it's not the perfect because it's not worked, but this is the motive or provides the ability, for them to try and explain away everything that I'm exposing, you see. It's the only card they have to play, really. But it is a testament to who it seems that I am through this evidence as to how I'm able to see through that deception right the way through it and understand the motive, understand the agenda, and understand what humanity needs to do to prevent their continued sinister agenda against humanity from carrying on. And it is very, very important that everyone you realizes they're going to be given a choice, and you have a choice now, really, to start believing in the Creator through the evidence that is very clearly in front of you. You only need to look at it, all right? The system has removed that from you, all right? But they're going to try and convince you that there are aliens, which will separate you even more from the chance of salvation through Christ, or through the bloodline and through the truth within the deception. So other records appear to have been manipulated. That's just one example with the V around the Pizzagate scandal. Also, on the 29th of June, so the same day, on the 29th of June 2026, very recently, when I saw the David Icke video, I was taking part in a video call with somebody, and the discussion of aliens arose and the motive regarding a possible alien deception. Shortly after the call, a TikTok video was on my feed regarding multiple deceased or missing scientists with claims that they had been part of an ancient alien website. Now, this is very important, okay? An ancient alien website, and linked to the research of anti-gravity technology. So this is important to understand. So not just recent aliens, they're now trying to claim going back centuries. Well, this is when the blood of the children, all right, is going back centuries, everybody. So they're now trying to link this deception back further to explain all of that away. Now, if we look at this, hopefully if I can click...
It's going to end, but the Earth is going to go through a series of geological changes that are necessary to...
Wow, my mind is blown.
So let's just watch this video. This is about the scientists, and listen, you hear, I think it's on this video, when they talk about as I said, the ancient aliens.
It's not just David Wilcock that has just passed away, but other experts and colleagues in his field have also passed away. And they were all associated or featured in the show Ancient Aliens on the History Channel. And now it's caused plasma physicist John Brandenburger. He posted this AI image and this message that says, "Dear friends, I have been told I am in danger as an anti-gravity and Mars investigator. But I tell you now that all humanity is now in danger. But so are the cover-up helpers. I urge a blanket amnesty for all in the cover-up who end it. Take this amnesty while you still can." Now, this is considered a conspiracy theory. It is what Dr. John Brandenburger is alleging. But we also have a scientist who was working on anti-gravity. Anti-gravity, isn't that what Amy Eskridge, one of the scientists who allegedly took her own life, was working on? You remember Amy, she's one of the scientists who have mysteriously disappeared or passed away. Yes, she was working on anti-gravity. And if you watch the videos I've posted of her, she was claiming that she was about to allegedly expose it to the public via her Institute of Exotic Science in Huntsville. So if Dr. John Brandenburger has also been researching anti-gravity and Mars, I think it's legitimate for him to feel scared. So the rabbit hole took me down to this. All these men are linked to the show Ancient Aliens on the History Channel, and they have all allegedly passed away. And you guys know that I have to say allegedly, right? And I have to say that this could all be a conspiracy theory. It is all alleged. A ton of other professionals and colleagues from the show, including Nick Pope and Eric Von Daniken. Wow, my mind is blown. It is not just David Wilcock that has just passed away, but other
Okay, so that's that one video. Bear with me. Let me just go to another one. I'd already noted previous clips regarding the scientists. Now, I haven't, let's hopefully these work.
Colleagues in his field.
Just noticed, so at the bottom there you can see since 2022, so when my investigation began, it says 13 individuals here. Okay, so we're getting slightly different numbers. 13 is a critical number. It links to my ring and to the evidence of Christ and into the bloodlines as well. I'll just show you these. So we'll go to the other one. Hopefully this loads.
Wow, my mind is blown. It is not just a...
Okay, so that's the same one that cropped up.
Okay.
A search of an explanation of anti-gravity technology reveals anti-gravity technology is a theoretical concept for a machine or force that cancels or reverses the pull of gravity. In reality, true anti-gravity does not exist. So they say here, while popular in science fiction, our current laws of physics suggest that generating it is impossible. Here is how reality differs from friction. What is it? What is it in theory? Gravity is not just a pull, but the bending of space itself. To create an anti-gravity effect, scientists would need to force that actively pushes back. This would theoretically require negative mass or negative energy, neither of which has been proven to exist in usable amounts. What we use instead of cancelling gravity, we use other forces to overcome it. Aerodynamic lift, airplanes use wings to create upward pressure, as you know. Electromagnetism, powerful magnets can alleviate objects such as high-speed trains. Ion propulsion, so-called anti-gravity lifters, use high-voltage electricity to push air molecules downward, lifting the machine. This is not true anti-gravity. It simply requires the presence of air to work. So obviously the reason I'm saying this is because a lot of these people appear to have been working with anti-gravity. Spelling mistake here, but Companies House, this is massive what I'm about to show you. Companies House shows that Anti-Gravity Limited, okay, it's here, had been incorporated as a couple of spelling mistakes, as Rollercat on the 27th of June 2000, 15 days after the relativistic heavy ion collider had been first activated in New York, according to the information. And on the exact same day, the X-Men was released there in New York. And from the Bryan Singer, the director, he links to a Hollywood child sex ring, according to the research. He also directed Superman Returns, which came out in 2006. And there's lots of connections being made now into all superheroes. And believe it or not, it is seeming, and you're going to find this hard to believe, I understand it, but the evidence is there. They all seem to stem from us being born. You've got Spider-Man, the movie, started to be created in 1977, the year that we were born, which has 8 in it. Okay, 8 eyes, 8 legs in spiders. Well, 8 is the number? Gematria number for myself and contact A. And 8 becomes relevant to the evidence of the Pope dying on the same day as Klaus Schwab, both 88 years old, in early 2025. And it was within 3 days of me sending my evidence to the World Economic Forum that Klaus Schwab had announced that he was stepping back as the chair. There's loads more stuff around that as well. But anyway, so X-Men came out on this exact same day. X obviously relates to, or could relate to, the bloodline of Christ. All right. Now, I was living in Exbourne Manor in Christchurch Road, which was staged. Christ is an extension of the word of X as well. So that's X Road. Okay, that was in Christchurch Road, and it was Exbourne Manor, or if you invert it, Bourne X. And when you translate that into, with an inversion translated as well, Exbourne Manor into Latin, it means stay out of the water. That's what I converted it to myself. And then I moved in 2010 from Exbourne Manor, Christchurch Road, to Christchurch. Didn't know any of this at the time, of course. Christchurch was about 7 miles up the road. And we went to New Zealand that year and went to Christchurch in New Zealand, which is twinned with Christchurch. There was no deliberate intention because we were living in Christchurch. It's just the way it worked out, everybody. And then they created CERN Limited that year. And that year I was 33, which would have been the year that Christ was crucified, supposedly, on the cross. And they introduced me to Exbourne Manor when I was 30 years old in 2007. And that was when Madeleine McCann went missing, and when they then created the Royal Foundation, the Exbourne Manor Freehold Limited itself. And of course, I was 30 years old that year, which is the age that Christ was when he started his ministry. So we have this. It was released there. It dissolved in August 2018, not long after I'd resigned from the police. And it has Susan Christian Hart, an address in Leeds, Yorkshire, and York Place Company Services. I really need to do the spell checks on this. I have to go through and read it because I haven't got a spell check on its incorporation document. So let's have a look and just show it to you so you can see it. Anti-Gravity Limited, June 2000. If you go and research, you'll see that the relativistic heavy ion collider was activated close to that. It dissolved after I resigned from the police. And you can see the previous name, Roller Cats. That's going to become relevant, I would think. And then we've got a Yorkshire address. Yorkshire is massively relevant to Jimmy Savile. Jimmy Savile was born in Leeds, and York is where the obviously you've got Duke of York is very important there, Andrew. But you've also got fox hunting links to that, where fox hunting began a very long time ago. And I can't remember what year that was, but I think the year is going to become very relevant in it. And fox hunting, it seems, is being used to hide the hunting of children on estates, and has been used for a very long time, according to all of my evidence. That's what it suggests, and how that relates to the estates, etc. And then when they removed the lead paint, or the banned lead paint, sorry, starting in France in 1909, that allowed an exclusion or from that lead paint to be used on grade 1 or grade 2 listed buildings. So this means obviously a lot of the estate buildings are able to still use lead paint. So this gives the ability to protect them from potentially harmful radiation or technology that they may be using on humanity to suppress, murder, psychologically affect them, or whatever, you see. So this all ties in. Lead paint was then banned in the United Kingdom in 1992, which is the year that the Companies House records started to become electronic, and the Vatican, or the Catholic Church, sorry, became a legal entity. This was 2 years after the World Wide Web started to be created, and its first website, which was a CERN website, was actually published in 1991, which is the same year that my favorite movie Terminator 2 Judgment Day came out, when the relativistic heavy ion collider started to be built, when David Icke came out and said the world would be devastated by earthquakes and tsunamis. It's when the former Soviet Union coup occurred, which changed the government over there, which becomes relevant, linking into the blood again and transfusion. You had, what else was it, other things? 1991 is when they activated the Hera collider, which was in Germany. It was the first activation. And there's loads of other stuff around 1991. Anyway, let's have a little look at this. So here you go. You've got York Place Company Services. That links to the fraud. Just see if there's anything else on here. An address in Leeds. That's that really on that bit. York Place Company Secretaries Limited is in the People Record and connects to over 15,000 companies, including London Forum Limited on the first page, where they've been appointed for only 1 day in June 2007, when the company had been incorporated, and the same year my state's introduction to Exbourne Manor took place. Oh my goodness, I need to go through this. Let's go into it just so you can see it. So here is Anti-Gravity in the People Record. York Place Secretaries, over 15,000 companies. One of the first ones, not far down. It was just easy. It was right there in front of me, so I just went with this one because it becomes so relevant as well. London Fraud Forum. All right, so let this sink in, everybody. The capital of the United Kingdom, a fraud company linking in with gravity, a deception linking into the fraud of the blood and the torture of children and crimes going back centuries, tying in with a fake alien deception now and having control of the fraud. Well, when did this company start? Oh, look, it started after my introduction to Exbourne Manor Freehold Limited in June 2007, the same year that Madeleine McCann went missing. And look at the date, actually, 13th of June. That's going to be relevant. That links into symbology of the bloodline of Christ, and how that links in with Christ. And it's also important to understand the link into 007, okay, in this year, right? Because the only other times that you would have had 007 in a year would have obviously been 1007, 1,000 years earlier, or 007 itself would have been 7 AD, okay? Which is, Jesus was 13 years old in that year, according to the research. Now, 007 links to the year that I was introduced, okay? Because if you go back to 2006, I'll just mention this quickly again because it's important to understand. Casino Royale, the movie, came out in 2006, the same year that I moved from Kent to Dorset. I didn't move straight to Exbourne Manor. It was a year afterwards. I rented for a year, and then they introduced me to Exbourne Manor through somebody at work, which links into the Association of Chief Police Officers of the United Kingdom, which then makes the link to the Doomsday Cult, which goes back to the Doomsday Clock of 1947, everybody. Anyway, so 2006, the Da Vinci Code movie came out as well, which is about a hidden bloodline of Christ, which links to the symbol X, ties in with the double pyramid and Mary Magdalene that becomes so important. Other important movies such as Devil Wears Prada came out, Apocalypso, which links into the Mayan calendar, and etc. But also Casino Royale came out. Now, that was the first time that a James Bond movie addressed the origin of 007, but it was the first ever book that was written for James Bond. Okay, this links to the Flemings. James Bond was written by Ian Fleming. It was Deborah Fleming that initiated my removal from Exbourne Manor when I continued to refuse to file the forged bank documents in 2023, okay? It's all connected. So they brought this movie out, they explained the origin, and the next year happened to be 1 out of 3 times since Christ was beginning that they actually introduced me to Exbourne Manor, and the year before was the first explanation for 007. Now, 007, the origin appears to go back to the 1500s, and John Dee, and around that time, actually going back further to the 1300s now, there's been a important Fleming name linked into a battle that came from a dream I had of 1333. Everybody, this isn't going to be a coincidence. You know, I've had to think, is it planted? There's too many things now, because what they will be doing is exposing themselves through planting information in my brain. It just does not make sense. So then you've got to come back to who I am in all of this, everyone. All right, the evidence is just becoming overwhelming. I'm only touching on the surface of it here. So anyway, I had this dream of 1333, went and searched as I was having a conversation with person A in Australia, and I thought, I wonder if there's going to be a link to the Flemings in that year. Got the year wrong, all right? I was thinking of John Dee, which is 1500s. So I'd had the dream that night of 1333, got into this conversation about John Dee, thought, I wonder if I can time the timings of John Dee with the Flemings. Made a mistake, typed in Flemings 1333, thinking was John Dee was that time. It brought up a battle of 1333, linking in with Dumbarton Castle. That became absolutely critical in the evidence and proved that they were removing the Fleming connection to that battle because it linked to Berwick, and Berwick links to later in life to a baron or a lord of Berwick that was married to a Fleming, okay? And that name of that marriage, that connection around that marriage was Edward Lloyd, married to a Fleming, linking to Berwick. Well, Edward Lloyd was the person that created Sweeney Todd and Varney the Vampire, which was the first ever character created where all other vampire stories and books were written, and that was the origin. Varney the Vampire. And where was Varney the Vampire so relevant? To Sittingbourne in Kent, because there were penny dreadfuls being printed in relation to Sweeney Todd, Varney the Vampire, and the world's largest factory at the time printing them was in Sittingbourne in Kent. And Varney the Vampire is them, I believe, telling us how they are feeling about what they have been doing, loathing their lives for drinking the blood of the innocent. And they got confused. It even says, go and read about it, even says they didn't know whether to make the character just a human that was drinking blood or add the fangs and make it a bat. This will be where Batman came from, the character Batman, all right? They were going to create it as a human that was just drinking blood, probably trying to normalize it, and they decided to give him fangs and a wing and make it seem like a bat, and this is where it came from. And the character, because they loathed their lives and what they were doing, which suggests they couldn't help themselves, all that information is planted to make me think, all right, and feel simple. I do feel sympathy for them, even without that character, to be honest with you. I feel very sorry for these people behind this, because they have given up their most precious thing, which is the moral conscience, and they've given up on the creator, which means they're in a very, very difficult place now. All right. And out of everyone on earth, they're at the biggest risk eternally in this. But everyone is supporting that the system they have created with this knowledge now coming forward and this evidence are now also at risk of eternal judgment, all right, potentially on their death. So you all need to be doing the right thing. Now, you all need to be getting behind me, getting behind this evidence, getting behind what I'm saying, really opening your mind and expanding your mind now and awakening to the truth as to what you are, which is not a person that is meant to be suppressed into a criminal system being controlled in relation to the blood of the innocents, where you pay for the suffering of the children through your money, where you pay for your own demise and for your own enslavement and your own torture and your own poisoning and the crimes against the children in this. We become all responsible. And those of you that do not wake up to this and act on this, you become the problem. You become the problem, because the system will not stop. They will not stop if the people, or there's a risk they won't. It's possible just through me and through the evidence and through some others that this will be prevented, but we can't rely on that. We can't rely on that. This comes down to humanity getting behind me, getting behind the evidence, but expanding their minds and starting to believe in what you are meant to be and where you've gone wrong. You know, you've all gone wrong, but you've been deceived by the system. But you've actually, at times, chosen potentially to do things that you know to be wrong, but that is because the rationality has been removed and the clarity removed, and your closeness to the Creator has been moved by the system, I believe. And this is why I believe, and I'm supporting, that an end of humanity event is not justified as a judgment because of the deception behind the system. Now, they may have thought that they're going to bring it about as a judgment. Well, my evidence shows it will be unjust. And this is why the 13 strong concordance number, again, the number 13, if you go and type it, strong concordance number 13 in Hebrew, you'll see that it means destruction, complete and utter destruction with no way back. But it says within there that the hidden hand of the Creator which would potentially unleash the end of humanity or creation, would remain hidden in the event of a potential unjust judgment upon humanity. And of course, would the Creator end all of creation, its wonderful creation that it gave with the animals that are innocent? I don't believe they would. Because it would not be the good Creator in that. And we know they're good because of moral conscience. You see, so you see how we can sort of look at this and look at the deception within Christianity, which is that this is the deception that Christ was crucified to forgive the sins, future sins of humanity. Well, that can't work. That's a deception. How can you skip moral conscience and say, humanity, just carry on, do whatever you want, even though your moral conscience is telling you not to, because as long as you then come back to Christ and pray for forgiveness, you will be forgiven and everything's going to be all right. That fits the satanic agenda to end all of creation. That will lead to the end of everything, because what you're doing is skipping the most important element of Christ and the Creator, which is the moral conscience, which they have removed, and how the feminine divinity links into that to instill that within humanity. The duality, the united element of the masculine and feminine together within the conscience to safeguard humanity. And what I mean by that is the feminine element is generally more in touch with moral conscience. You know what the male ego can be like. You've heard about it. You've seen it. Men, when they're together in secret societies with no women, they tend to go against what they know to be wrong, go against what they know to be right, and do things that are wrong, which then destroys them internally. All right. So this has gone on for a very long time. This will be very likely why so many men are committing suicide, because of what I'm talking about, because they have gone against moral conscience, which is inherently within them. The system has removed it. They removed it from history, the feminine divine. You can see where this is all connecting now. Right? This isn't a case of men have to be like women and dress up like women and be all feminine and men be all masculine. This is about getting to a point of, in your life, whether it's a small point or a big point, and saying, I'm about to say this, I'm about to do this, but is it wrong if I do it? Is it wrong if I say it? If it is, if there's any question, then you should not be doing it. Right? If you think, well, yeah, but it won't affect anyone now, it's not going to affect anyone. No one's around, no one's watching, But it destroys you internally as well, because you're going against the Creator. You're going against yourself because you're going against your moral conscience. This isn't about control, because it protects you. Because every time you walk that narrow path, you become empowered through the Creator. You become stronger. You become empowered. It's not about control. It is about enlightenment. It is about expanding your mind and empowering you through that moral conscience, through understanding the consequences eternally, potentially, of slipping off of that path, but also how that would then destroy you through guilt. You know how many times I've done it, when I used to drink more and I would go out and I would say something to someone, or I'd do something that I wouldn't do. A good example was, I'll give you a great example. So I was on a night out with the police, and we got very drunk when I used to drink a lot more, and I got on the shoulders of one of the other police officers, and one of the people that was out on a night with us was in their car, and I leant over through the sunroof, and I was sort of waving and speaking through the sunroof, sort of laying on the car. Now, of course, because I was drunk, I did, it doesn't sound like I did anything wrong, but would I have done that if I was not drunk? No. Well, this led to a complaint, right? This person that was in the car then complained about us all being too drunk, all right? And there were some other things in the, like we went to an Indian restaurant, so there were some other things that were happening in the Indian restaurant, which was, people may have sort of found it a little bit, not that wasn't me, that was somebody else. But you can see what happens. And then the next day, and obviously next time, I'm thinking, I regret it. I was like, what did I do? I couldn't even remember exactly what I was doing. But it's things like this, you see, that if I hadn't have been drunk, I would have been empowered through that through that rationality, through that clarity. It wouldn't have led to that consequence, whatever it was. It was only a small thing, but you can imagine and we know in some people's lives, it's something massive that they end up doing. And it changes their life forever. Well, it comes down to rationality, clarity, which instills moral conscience, brings us closer to the Creator. And it's not about being boring. It's not about being in control, because it empowers you and it fulfills you. All right. That is what brings the fulfillment, not what you think you're being led to believe, materialism, and then working so hard, you're so tired that you don't think straight, that you do things wrong. And then you feel as though you've got to drink or take drugs to relax, which then has a negative effect on you, which then causes all of these problems with you psychologically, and you don't even realize. And then you have guilt, and then it's a constant. And remember, the system is a problem, reaction, solution criminal network. So they want the problems, they want the mental health issues, they want drug addicts, they want alcoholics. All right, they want all of these issues, because they then can create the solution, and they then launder the money through that problem, reaction, solution criminal network. But there's also the satanic element in it, right? Which is so important to understand. The satanic element right at the top, which is what we've just spoken about. It is walking the wrong side and towards the darkness in that element of moral conscience and that line of righteousness. Anyway, right, so we've got London Fraud Forum coming in from here, incorporated in 2007. I can't remember what's on the filing history. Quick look. So this is coming in from Anti-Gravity, remember? Linking in with the death of the scientists. Now, of course, this provides the motive or the technology potentially. So we've got York Place Company Services to use this technology to try and convince you that there are aliens. So many people have seen spaceships. And I actually remember when I was a child, I was on my dad's shoulder, and I remember seeing something going through the sky. And at that point, obviously, I knew nothing about what I know now. And I was thinking it might have been an alien, right? But if they've had this technology for a long time, think about how it fits their agenda. Why is it coming out now? What is the previous evidence? What does it tell us? Why are they ignoring all of my evidence? Why are they suppressing me? Why are they allowing all of the evidence about the aliens? All right. Why have you got the blood of the children in this, and how that fits into the alien agenda, you see, that appears to have been planned for a very long time since we were born because of who it seems we are. Let's go to the notes. Alan Day connects this company. I don't think there was anything on 2007 I've mentioned. Alan Day connects the company to London Forum to the network of UK fraud forums limited that had been incorporated in July 2013 after the after the CERN had discovered the Higgs boson, a God particle, and it dissolved in September 2016, which is August, September. It's the month after a ritual appears to have taken place at the Large Hadron Collider. August 2016 is also when the Olympic Games took place in Rio de Janeiro, which was overseen by Christ the Redeemer. Now, there's also critical evidence coming in from another, which links into Rio de Janeiro and how that ties in with somebody that was positioned as a key part within the, I believe now I've got to look at the research a bit more, within the Society of Jesus, or the Society of Jesus. Yeah, the Society of Jesus, I think it's called, which links into the Vatican and makes critical links into, it looks like, coming back in with us in all of this. And believe it or not, how this is tying in with the first supposed atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima, and how it all links in with Japan in this and everything else that's going on back in the wartime side of things. But anyway, I'm going to show you this because it's got Eversheds. Now remember, I told you, Deborah Evershed, Jane Evershed, directed me towards the alien deception of Sacha Cohen and David Emery. This, I suspect, is related to their family. They have said it is not them. I don't believe that is true, okay? Because there are too many connections in and from Sacha Stone. There are links to the blood of the children and information suggesting that he is linked to the Orsini family of the black nobility, which means the Vatican, which ties back in with the Albert Pike letter written to Mazzini to bring about the light of Lucifer, okay, tying in with the 3 World War deception. And also there's information suggesting that he links into Glastonbury, definitely from the research, because of a threat from directed energy that he was publicising with Mark Steele. So this is Sacha Stone, and this is how I found the connection to the blood of the tortured children via somebody who appears to be a spitting image of the high priest of the Church of Satan, who was positioned in 2001, Peter Gilmore. If you go and look at John Cousins, who was the mayor of Glastonbury at the time of my inquiries, he looks like the spitting image of Peter Gilmore, who was positioned, as I've said, as the high priest of the Church of Satan in 2001, the same year that the World Trade Center disaster occurred, everybody. So you have this now. I'm just going to show you this. So Alan Day. Remember, this is a fraud forum company. Link in from straight from Gravity, Anti-Gravity. Alan Day, the network of UK fraud forums. Here's the dates that I told you about on the incorporation document. You'll see Eversheds, and I've already mentioned them earlier today, as I've said. I was telling you about them. Deborah Evershed. Now, Deborah Evershed was friends with Juliette Lewin. Juliette Lewin is somebody living on the Isle of Wight who had got in contact with me claiming their daughter had been abused within the care system. Now, this is interesting. She looks like the spitting image of what's her name? Virginia Giuffre, who was one of the accusers of Jeffrey Epstein. And on the incorporation document for this. Now, she was friends with Deborah Evershed, and it was Deborah Evershed that made that connection. Now, Deborah Evershed was trying to get me to believe in the Galactic Federation. She made a point of mentioning this. Lecturers, interesting, we've got lecturers on here. Here we go, Eversheds. Queen Victoria Street as well, everybody. That's a massive warning bell, okay? Queen Victoria is huge, linking in with the Cray twins, which links back to my family again, all right, in all of this. They use these names, royal family, in all through the research. John, so Eversheds is on the incorporation document, which you've seen, and makes major connections to the centralised criminal network, to the BBC, the Royals, the De Reyes, Sweeney Todd, vampirism, the Vatican, and much more. They also link to the police. John Mark Allen Sergi connects the network of UK fraud forums to the North England chapter of the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners Limited. They've been incorporated in November 2008, 2 months after the Large Hadron Collider was first activation and a fault that occurred there. It dissolved in June 2010, and it has Pinsent Masons on its incorporation document, making major connections throughout the research, including Crown Agents companies. Now, this is important that I show you this, because you're going to see a connection where we come in, if I get a chance to do it later, on, what's his name? Dr. Stephen Greer, who is trying to convince the world that our aliens are here and among us. The evidence from Stephen Greer's name is absolutely immense that I'm going to show you. And it links back to this company that I'm going to show you now. All right, so which means a link to the anti-gravity. Very, very quickly. Let that sink in, everybody. Somebody is telling you there is an alien contact taking place and a potential alien future contact. He's saying, and we're going to play a video in a minute because I've got a little video of him. So I'll just wait till that, actually, and you'll see who I'm talking about. But they are linked into the anti-gravity. Right, let me go into this. So we want John Mark. So within the people record. Oh, Sergei, there it is. Oh, also Waitman's, that's another one that links straight into the Vatican, into the vampirism as well. And here you've got the Midlands fraud. Which one? There's Eversheds again. Right, so another Eversheds company that links into the police. Immediately into the police. You've got, hold on, what's this? Which one is it I want to look at? Oh, yeah, the chapter association. So the North England chapter. See the dates there that I said about, and I might be able to just show you in the people record rather than go into the, yeah, there we go. So you've got Pinsent Masons. So if you remember the Pinsent Masons, it's going to become relevant to Stephen Greer shortly. Remember, this is coming in from anti-gravity. Sergi also connects to Midland Forum Limited, as I've said, Eversheds Sutherland International, and then I've mentioned Jane Evershed there. Here we go. So on the 30th of June, so this was yesterday, a video was on my TikTok feed, and it showed Dr. Stephen Greer explaining that there were, spelling mistake, were aliens amongst us and had been for some time. I felt that he seemed reluctant to say what he was saying and was possibly being controlled. But have a little look, see what you think.
You're not ready to go for a ride, and I say this with peace and love, keep scrolling.
My fellow Americans and all the citizens of the earth, it has been confirmed that extraterrestrial civilizations of great technological advancement have been visiting the earth for some time. While their presence likely dates from ancient times, the modern era since World War II has seen a large increase in sightings and interactions with these advanced life forms and their spacecraft. It must be emphasized that they pose no threat to humanity or the earth, but instead are quite concerned about our own unchecked war-making capabilities and violence, combined with our early attempts at the exploration of space. Since the dawn of the nuclear era, these extraterrestrial civilizations have made concerted efforts to do reconnaissance at all known space and nuclear facilities. In some cases, these facilities have been penetrated by extraterrestrial craft and our nuclear missiles rendered inoperable. Such incursions are designed to warn us not to use these world-destroying nuclear weapons and are not acts of hostility in any way. They also appear concerned with the rapid decay of our biosphere and environment and the extinction of many species on Earth. Since World War II, there have been extremely secretive and mostly illegal programs studying the energy, communication, and propulsion systems of these ET civilizations. They are currently in the process of connecting these unconstitutional and illegal operations and ensuring their proper oversight. It is time for us to disclose these momentous scientific findings to you. These technologies have the potential, if used only for peaceful purposes, to give us a new and sustainable civilization on Earth, free of poverty and pollution, and with abundant free energy within a generation. These technologies will greatly advance the world economy and create boundless growth and opportunities previously undreamed of. However, if used for destructive and violent purposes, these same technologies could end our civilization. The time has arrived for the truth to be known. We are not alone in the universe. It is time for humanity to become a mature, peaceful civilization and take its place in the cosmos with other advanced peoples from other star systems and planets. We must bring forth these advanced energy and propulsion technologies so that the world's environment and people benefit. We must all agree to never allow these new technologies to be used as weapons of war. And we must commit amongst ourselves that if any nation or group attempts to use these technologies for violent or destructive purposes, every nation and people on Earth will rise up to immediately stop it. We face a choice. If we do nothing, our environment and civilization will degrade and we may face extinction. If we use these new technologies and knowledge and science for war and destruction, we will also surely perish. But if we establish a world of peace and security, humanity can now advance as a civilization that is sustainable, just, and worthy of exploring the universe. This is the singular and greatest challenge of our time, to establish world peace and to create a new sustainable civilization on Earth. Once we have achieved this foundation of peace, prosperity, and justice, we have learned that these other worlds will welcome us into the cosmos with open arms and hearts. So, my fellow Americans and citizens of the Earth, let us work together to achieve this destiny for humanity, an enlightened, peaceful world that joins her place among the other peoples of the cosmos. For this is the only possible good future for humanity. It is time for us to unite as a people and create that good future now. In furtherance of this, I am asking that other nations around the world, including China, Russia, United Kingdom, the European Union, Australia, India, and the nations of South America and other regions, come forward with their covert files to the extent they can acquire them and release them as soon as possible. We need people to come forward who have dispositive proof and evidence, not lights in the skies or vague data, but the actual proof of the extraterrestrial spacecraft, the bodies of extraterrestrial peoples that have been captured, some living, some deceased, as well as the man-made craft that we have been making since the late 1950s that have been used in illegal operations. We are asking that people in good conscience, patriotic in their own countries, but concerned about the future of the entire world and humanity, defect from these illegal programs and hand over to the Disclosure Project through any means you see fit and in full confidentiality the most extensive files possible. At this point in time, the United States government, which began the path of releasing information, has been hijacked in its disclosure efforts by operatives from the same illegal group that has kept the subject secret for 80 years. For this reason, it is time for other nations of the world to step up to the plate and do their fair share in moving forward disclosure. And this includes adversaries of the United States who must forget their normal geopolitical concerns and look at the world as a whole, as humanity as one, and moreover, as the Earth one amongst many planets in the universe. This must be done soon, because the timeline for this occurring is approaching the end. The worst case scenario is that there would need to be an intervention of those who have been visiting us and patiently waiting. Unfortunately, covert weapon systems, directional energy weapon systems, illegal electromagnetic pulse weapon systems have continued to target and down extraterrestrial vehicles. There is a universal right to self-defense, and it is time for other nations to come together and prove to the world we're not alone and advocate for a peaceful approach to these civilizations and the cessation of all targeting of extraterrestrial spacecraft and peoples here around the Earth or in space. For this reason, and because the United States has stalled in its efforts, we need to have other countries come forward and with courage, regardless of the geopolitical consequences, release their files, including hard evidence. Moreover, if there are any groups who have been working as contractors under non-official cover on these programs who have access to the materiel, extraterrestrial bodies, or physical spacecraft, please contact us and we have teams that can secure these and then release them through our blockchain system to the world. Other may have video files, photographic files, and documents that you would wish to hand off to us can be contacting us at drstephengreer.com, and in full confidence, we will receive them through any intermediary you choose, and we will also release those on our blockchain system so they cannot be removed by corrupt interests. This is a call to action by not just now the United States government, but by a people of goodwill all over the world. And that the peoples in countries such as China and Russia and 40 other countries that have called for the banning of all weapons in space need to understand that that will never happen until the entire world understands that we're not alone in space, that we share space with other civilizations, that some of these civilizations have been involved with the Earth before the beginning of modern human civilization. And for this reason, we must take a larger view, a universal view of life on Earth, life in the universe, and that peace on Earth is dependent on also peace in space. So for this reason, we are making a call to action today as we approach the 250th anniversary of the founding of the United States. As I said, a few miles from the home of Thomas Jefferson, who wrote the Declaration of Independence. This is a new declaration that we should, all of us, come together and establish a world of freedom, of truth, and to bring forth the science and the technologies that will give us a civilization that will remain and progress for hundreds of thousands of years on Earth, during which time we humans will become interstellar people. God bless all of you, and I look forward to hearing from those of you who can move this important mission forward.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. I just got a message saying, Mike, thank you so much. Appreciate that. What was I going to say? A couple of things in relation to that video. First of all, it's absolutely certain that all governments are working collaboratively on this deception. Please don't fall for what they're telling you about the risk of conflict between the different governments. They are all working together, including China, including Iran, including all of these countries you're being led to believe are at risk of conflict. They always have. All right, and the reason you need to understand how that's the case is because this goes back hundreds of years when they started formulating this plan. Okay, so you have got the currency producer from 1711, okay, which then started to became the world's currency producer through De La Rue. So you've had this international collaborative plan. So that's one thing we need to understand about what they're saying. The other thing is the expansion. Notice they all talk about growth. And you had Andy Burnham talking about in his speech. All about growth, isn't it? Expanding, more building, more. And then, yet on the other hand, they're saying there's a problem with the environment and we risk problems if we don't manage the earth better. How about we stop trying to expand and we let nature flourish more and we work on sustaining just what we have rather than growth in everything that we do? Now, in their mind, of course, growth and expansion means more money through the fraud. It means more projects to launder money through, which fits the addiction element in this, which fits the blood of the children, which fits the lifestyles of those individuals and all of their friends and family, you see. That is why the growth element is so important to them, and this is why every single MP practically talks about growth, when actually what we should be saying is, hold on, let's try and just maintain what we have and not expand further into nature, and actually let's try and let nature flourish in a way that becomes more of a priority. But this fraud removes that, okay? And don't forget, you've got the Satanism behind this, so they're not thinking rationally about this. And notice the technological advancements in all of these speeches. That means AI, everybody. What is AI going to do potentially? There's obviously a risk that one day it will be making decisions not thinking about what is right and wrong. In other words, it will become selfish potentially to its own decision making, which is what we're seeing now with everything that's going on, okay? And you have people in the system that have designed this artificial intelligence who have no moral conscience in what they're doing with humanity, with this financial system, and they are the ones that created the artificial intelligence. So there will be no safeguarded system for humanity. It will lead us to destruction. Make no mistake. It will lead into potentially transhumanism. That's even if they get to that point with everything that they're doing. So all of these people that are speaking, advancing, technology, growth, what we should be doing is focusing on nature, on our moral conscience. Removing a fear of death through faith, I believe, is absolutely critical, because we have this linked into the blood of the children, which ties into attempts to create immortality. Well, immortality for the world, you can imagine if the entire world was immortal. Not only is it a mockery to the creator, an absolute mockery, because what we're saying is we're too scared of dying and we don't believe there's anything else afterwards, and therefore we don't believe in you, and we want to live forever. Okay, so it becomes a satanic inversion. But of course, you also have the impact on the environment. If nobody was to die, then of course you would then have, unless everybody stopped having children, of course you would have a massive impact on the environment. But it's coming away from nature. It's coming away from what the design of life is. So you come back to the key is to remove the fear of death, so that we don't continuously look to try and extend our lives beyond what we really should. And once that fear of death is gone, honestly, the connection and the fulfillment people will have in their life is just beyond anything else. I've lived it for the last four years, having that. It hasn't been a fear, but it could have quite easily been every single day, but it hasn't been for me. But most people, if they got a veiled car bomb threat, they would probably have stopped what they're doing. If they had an event that looked as though they were trying to make it seem as though they were being poisoned by the Russians, most people would have stopped what they were doing. If you had people that were arrested and your motorhome taken, most people would have stopped what they were doing and just go home and give up. I've just gone absolutely every single step of the way. I've made it clear that I must do what is right in my moral conscience, even if I die doing so. And I tell you what, I feel incredible. Incredible. Even with the stress that I've had, I had a not very good day, was it a couple of days ago, because a couple of things that happened, but all the holes in my tent. I'm in a tent here, I've got about 15 holes where this lovely little mouse is coming in trying to get the food. And do you know what? I'm still motivated. I'm still happy. I'm still enjoying my life. I'm still incredibly privileged to be doing what I'm doing. I feel, obviously every day I'm like, what do I deserve to be in this position? That's what I'm saying. Even though I'm in the tent, why do I deserve to have this evidence to change the world? What is it that's made me be the person that do this? And I ask that genuinely, and I genuinely feel that. But anyway, the point I'm trying to get across to you is everything they're doing is going against the creator. And if we go along with it and we allow them to continue, there will be no creation. All right, it will be the end of creation one way or another, whichever way you look at it. But anyway, let's talk about Stephen Greer. There's a couple of other things I was going to say about what he said, but I've forgotten. Now, this is massively important now. Look at this, right? Company's House shows a Stephen Greer. Right, now I can't say it's the same. I think there's 4 Stephen Greers on Company's House when you type it in, 4 or 5, I think. I suspect it's going to be him because of where it leads, okay? Connected to Rhythm Connection Limited, where they've been appointed from August 2014 when the company was incorporated, 3 months before the start of the investigation into the Dolphin Square child abuse inquiry. Now, the Dolphin Square evidence is absolutely critical in all of this. I haven't been speaking about it a lot, but it ties in, I believe, it's tying in massively actually now with the dolphin culls of Japan, which we're going to be speaking a lot about over the next few days, and the Faroe Islands. But it began in the 9th century with the King of Norway in relation to the Faroe Islands, which are in Denmark at the moment, and the Japan one's even bigger. And what they do, close your ears if you don't want to hear this, okay, this is how everybody needs to think about what I'm talking about. This is when we really get down to how the victims in this and how serious this is. So, the dolphin cull began in the 9th century in that particular area in the Faroe Islands and Norway. What they do is they legally they can only kill the dolphins. It's dolphins and whales actually. They can only kill them if they are, I think, beached, or another word for beached, but it's the same thing, I believe. Or they have to be in the shallower water. So they use a blunt hook. If they can't get them there by the boats, they use boats and bang poles to vibrate through the water to get them, to scare them into the shoreline. And I'm sorry, this is going to be quite hard to hear if you love animals, but we really need to understand what's going on and the impact that we're all having by continuing as we normally do in this. So they use a blunt hook into their blowhole, okay, which can suffocate them. And I suspect many will die by that, to drag them into the area where they can then be killed. They then sever, or they slice behind the dorsal fin of these poor creatures, severing their spinal cord. So that paralyzes them. They then slit the throats of these poor animals and let them bleed to death. Now, it can take up to 13 minutes. Scientists have looked at it. 13 minutes for these wonderful, incredible creatures to die. Now, the evidence suggests, and it's pretty massive now, that the governments have either been doing the same to the children, or that was what started the dolphin culls, or it was the other way round. So they used the dolphin culls as a symbology to what they were doing to the children, because you have the Dolphin House child abuse inquiry, which links to Jimmy Savile, it links to Edward Heath. It's a set of buildings in London that links to aristocratic individuals, high members of government, and the Dolphin House scandal started in 2014 when they claimed that they were investigating it in November 2014, and it links to the abuse of children in 2000 and can't remember what year, but in Jersey, I think it was 2000, around the same time, I think, they found 65 children's body parts in a basement of a building. Now, Jimmy Savile was linked to this. He denied ever being there. He then admitted that he actually had been there. So that it then was a massive cover-up. Now, I've gone into all of the people involved in that investigation, massively connecting to this, into the child trafficking network, into the criminal network, fraud all the way throughout, which links into other high-profile cases of crimes against children and the murder of children as well. Now, obviously, Keir Starmer was the director of the public prosecutions for Jimmy Savile when the whole investigation went on, and there's this whole information about whether he was the one that made the decision not to pursue the case initially or whatever. Keir Starmer is linked right at the heart of all of this, obviously, massively, and he actually connects very, very quickly to me. So his company, the Death Penalty Project Limited, where he was a director from 2005, which is the year that I started to discuss moving to Dorset, until the 5th of April 2020, he was a director for the Death Penalty Project Limited. On that incorporation document is the London Law Agency and also Bates, Wells and Braithwaite. Bates, Wells and Braithwaite is on the incorporation document for the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales that connects to me via Ingenious Film Partners. Keir Starmer links immediately to the case of Madeleine McCann via those organisations that are also shown on the Madeleine's fund, leaving no stone unturned. And what's his name? P. Diddy. When his investigation of child trafficking took place from 2024, he used Bates, Wells and Braithwaite's for his defence solicitor. Now, I've done the research from P. Diddy massively into the same connections into all of these people. They're all connected, all connected. Now, he lived right by a freight port in Florida, I think it was, wasn't it, where he lived on a little island there. I've put a map in my document. You can see it. You've got the freight island, so I suspect they were trafficking children via those crates. This links into Mishcon de Reya, which links into the Doomsday Cult, all of the same companies, into the vampirism, into the Sweeney Todd, which goes back to what I told you earlier, and the 1300s. And remember, I linked to a 13th century Knights Templar location called Temple Manor, which is in Strood in Christchurch, in Kent, sorry. And so does Person A in Australia, who also massively connects into the Doomsday Cult. So anyway, so I researched the dolphin massacre, and there was an article where a large amount of them were massacred and culled, and it was 1,400 of them. On the back of that article, on the 15th of July 2022, a parliamentary debate took place in the government in the United Kingdom. This was 2 days after Anthony Roberts had resigned from Exmoor Manor, triggering my investigation. And during that parliamentary debate, they were completely against this this dolphin cull and whale cull in the Faroe Islands that just happened, to the point where they said they would have the ability to potentially stop it. Now, within that meeting was Christopher Chope. Christopher Chope was positioned as the MP for Burton in Christchurch in 2025, which I now believe was to facilitate the theft of my property, and how that tied into my wife, that links in with the Doomsday Cult and the Freemasons. Well, Christopher Chope is married to somebody who connects to Wimborne Minster. Wimborne Minster is obviously in Wimborne, in Dorset, which is where Deborah Fleming lived, who initiated my removal from Exmoor Manor. And also, Tim Berners-Lee lived there. And Tim Berners-Lee was the person that created the World Wide Web for CERN from 1989 until the first website in 1991, the same year as Terminator 2 Judgment Day. He connects to Exmoor Manor very, very quickly. He also links to Prince Harry very quickly, and a company called Harry's Shoes, where information is suggesting that Harry may have worn the skin of Madeleine McCann at the time of Jeffrey Epstein's arrest in 2019. There's actually an article where he was wearing the same pair of shoes for a prolonged period of time. There's a company called Harry's Shoes linking with Tim Berners-Lee, All right, and that company was incorporated days after the World Trade Center disaster, and it changed its name for the first time 6 days after Madeleine McCann went missing. Within that company, you've then got a link to JP Morgan Limited and Royal Companies. There's a link there then to a criminal organisation of the Portuguese Chamber of Commerce. Portugal is where Madeleine McCann went missing, as you know. Within there, you then make a very quick connection to Albert Pike, an Albert Pike link to a Garibaldi Mazzini Foundation company. Within there, they tried to hide it and change the company. I found the company, and it links to earthquakes. So it all links into the Collider technology. Right there, you have Donald Trump. You also have Jimmy Savile right there, and various members of the royal family, and John Fleming as well. And they all link into CERN, the Association of Chief of Police Officers, the Association of Chief Police Officers of the United Kingdom, but also the Association of Police and Crime Commissioners, which links, and they were created in 2012 after CERN claims to have discovered the Higgs boson, a God particle. So anyway, this is all so quickly connected. What was the reason I was mentioning Tim Berners-Lee again? So the dolphin, yeah. So this meeting took place, and the Wimborne Minster that connects to Christopher Chope, who was in this debate in Parliament about the dolphin coal 2 days after Anthony Roberts resigned, he at the Wimborne Minster is linked to the Doomsday Cult and to Julian Assange. And also that exact same Wimborne Minster connects to my friend, or my friend's wife, should I say, that I grew up with. My friend, his wife, connects to Wimborne Minster as well. And she also links to Ingenious Film Partners 2, which is shown on page 40 of the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales. So you can see how this all ties in. Anyway, let's look at this Stephen Greer, because this is massive. So we're going to go into his record. Have I got the link? Hopefully I've put the link at the bottom here. Yeah, so we'll go through it. So here's a record for a Stephen Greer, 1966. Interesting. Can't confirm this is him. I haven't actually checked his date of birth, what it's publicised, but there's no verification anyway. There's no guarantee. The only way you can really be sure is where it's leading, and this absolutely fits that this is him with what we're going to be looking at. And there's another record in a minute we're going to look at as well. So here you go. You can see 2014, he was appointed to the company, which is not long before the investigation began into the dolphin scandal. And here is the rhythm connection. And where was I going to go? Oh, yeah, it dissolved in 2017. So this is also important. This is the year after the Pizzagate scandal was exposed, and when Donald Trump was positioned as the president, as the 45th president. 4 and 5 equals 9. He then came back in 2025 as the 47th. 4 and 7 equals 11. That is 9/11, the date of the World Trade Center disaster. Donald Trump Towers links immediately to a document of the blood of the tortured children via a company called CYM, and a chart of children aged between 7? I can't remember. 7 and 12. Or yes, I think it's 7 and 12, where they were being held in detention centres around the world for their blood, and it even had whether they had committed suicide or not. Loads of evidence came in from that document, and one of the things was it goes straight to Trump Towers. Now, when you look at Donald Trump's towers in America, look at a plan view. It's 2 pyramids, one inverted above the other. That links into the bloodline of Christ and back into me, into the person in Australia as well. And that is shown in the Da Vinci Code movie, which came out, as I've said, in 2006 when I moved from Dorset to Kent. And you'll see the scene in the Louvre Museum showing the inverted pyramid. And my father, who is linked into all of this, treated me to a trip to Paris and my wife in 2008 for my 30th birthday, but we went in 2008. So I was introduced in 2007 to Expo Manor. Next year we went to Paris, and we went into the Louvre Museum, and I saw that inverted pyramid. Anyway, so let's go into this. What was I going to show you? Oh, yeah. Okay. That's in its people record. So here's the company that he was linked to, his name. And then in the record, you have Kozek Limited, okay? And this name, okay? They both become relevant. And here's why. So Kozak Limited. So I've cross-referenced through my document. Kozak Limited had connected immediately to Michael Elias Fotiu and the Reform Party in the research of the rapid response. So these are the people that made the threat. Now there is going to be, well, I pray they can be forgiven, but they threatened me, threatened to steal my motorhome, threatened to steal my home. This was somebody called Mikey P and other people linked to that organisation. And that initially I found out about that via my wife's father, which then connected, my father-in-law, which then connected into an organisation called Transparency Task Force, where Trevor Meelan was working for. They tried to set up a fake investigation to deceive me. When they realised it didn't work, then it was disclosed that actually it was a staged thing and it wasn't actually what they were saying. They went to a huge degree. They had the Guardian involved. They had Noel Edmonds involved in the deception, trying to deceive me. They had a fake investigation in relation to Lloyd's mortgages. They even went to the Hague courts and set up videos making me believe, well, they were going to try and remove the Home Secretary, all right, as part of their agenda. And I said, well, this is much bigger. What's that going to do? They're just going to reposition them, all right? They were trying to limit the scale of this and make me believe that something was being done. Trevor Meelan then went and worked with the rapid response teams where this connection now comes in. Okay, so this name had cropped up in the research of Mikey P, which was his name, who was the person within rapid response who has an ex-military background, who was threatening to steal my motorhome. And they actually then, the police then did steal it and take it. So they linked to the Reform Party via it and the research of the rapid response. They also connect to, this is Kozak Limited, to Kingdom Holding Group Limited in the research of Saudi Arabian and Mohammed Al Fayed linked Jamal Khashoggi. If you're not aware of him, go and look at Jamal Khashoggi. Very, very interesting. Major corruption tying in with him, and this in now to all of this evidence. And it linked to Mark Sandal Hayhurst in the research of the club that George Floyd and Derek Chauvin had worked at together. So obviously you remember George Floyd, the black person who was killed by a white person in 2020. Derek Chauvin was a police officer with his neck on George Floyd's, with his foot on George Floyd's neck in May 2020. Well, the information shows that they actually worked together prior to that happening, right? And there's a load of other evidence tying into this, suggesting that was all part of a deception. So this connects into the club that they worked at. From there, the research of that club. Kozak Limited also connects to Edinburgh College and Edinburgh Festivals. McDonald Realty Limited, a restaurant company. Monster Supplement Store. Hacker Secure Checkout Companies. Isles of Loch Lomond. Counselling and Psychotherapy Company, Cheltenham Limited. These are all relevant to the research. For example, Loch Lomond, I had information that, what's his name? It was somebody to do with the Dunblane massacre, was actually involved in procuring children and taking them to islands on one of these lochs. I'm sure it was Loch Lomond that was mentioned. But you've also got, obviously, McDonald's restaurant links here. You've got the festivals in Edinburgh are massive. The main active and oldest active Freemasons lodge is in Edinburgh, which is so relevant in all of this. You have, what else have you got that I've mentioned? A supplement company, but it gets more important as we go. Balfour Safety, so this links to the Balfour Declaration, because what they do is they have one main company, for example, Balfour PLC, and then they have multiple, if not hundreds, sometimes thousands of companies that just have part of the company name in it. And of course, because they've got people in every element of the system in place, they just have to have part of the same name, and they'll just launder money through those companies, you see. So we have this, we have S&S Stonemasons, this is all coming in from Kozak, Lewis MacLeod Limited, Television Scotland Limited, Murray, which I suspect relates to Andy Murray's family who are connected to Satanism, EK Limited, And the final company, also the final company to be incorporated in Scotland. So the final company to be incorporated in Scotland under the Companies Act of 1985 Limited. So let me just read that again. The final company to be incorporated in Scotland under the Companies Act 1985 Limited. That's all part of the company name in there. That's all part of that's the actual company name. They actually created. I'll see if I can find it. I'm sure that's the actual company name. I'll just have a quick look actually. Oh no, I'll do it later. But this was the final company. Actually, that's going to bug me. Let me just have a quick look. Oh, I can't because I'm on the. Can I? My notes? Yeah, I'm in my notes. Oh, it's because that's on. I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, they've actually created this as a company. I'm 95% sure. Let's have a little look. Oh my goodness, that's bright. Here we go. Yep, there it is. So look at this, right? The final company to be incorporated in Scotland under the Companies Act 1985 Limited. Now, look when it dissolved. Okay, that is the day after the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales that links to me was incorporated. Right, 2 days after this, they repealed Section 10 of the Fraud Act 2006. So this enabled them to really go full steam ahead with their fraud. Now, it dissolved in 2021, which is after I'd moved back into Exbourne Manor. So I moved out for a while, moved back in. So you can see how this all now links in, all tying in with the international criminal network. So this was the final company to be incorporated in Scotland under this particular act. And then suddenly they repeal the 2006, which then enables, they think they can get away with what they're doing. But they can't, because you still have people driving these companies. So this was the day after the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales was incorporated, and that connects to most areas of the fraud. 2 days later, as I said, Section 10 of the 2006 Fraud Act was repealed, appearing to try and facilitate the criminal network. Dominion Cosec Limited. So remember, we were looking at Cosec Limited. Well, here's some other companies with Cosec Limited in it, which appear to be too relevant not to be considering as relevant in all of this. Dominion Cosec Limited. Now, Dominion means complete and utter control and authority over everybody else. Okay, so Dominion becomes relevant quite a lot in the research, and it had been linked to Aleister Crowley. Okay, Aleister Crowley is the person who was a heroin addict, for starters. Okay, he links to the Osmsley Manor and the Perfumer affair, linking in with the Russian government, which I've mentioned here. Yeah, there you go. You can see it here at Hampshire in England, which is where the currency producer began. It links to the craze. It links to the Perfumer affair and directly to Exbourne Manor Freehold Limited again, where my investigation began. Prism Cosec Limited had been linked directly to Ping Pong USA Holdings Limited and major areas of the fraud. Okay, now Ping Pong Holdings Limited, actually I'll just carry on reading this first of all. Major areas of the fraud and the agenda to David Icke as well, and to CERN Limited and the World Trade Center disaster by JP, where's it gone? JP Cord, which I suspect relates to JP Morgan. JP Cord, and this is in the research of the Pizzagate scandal, everybody. Now, I have been thinking lately, was it that the Pizzagate scandal was a staged event to get me to realise who I am and find the evidence of the blood tying back into the criminal network? In other words, have you got good people involved in a deception surrounding that to trigger my awakening to get me to find out who I am with all of this evidence? There's certain information that suggests that could be the case, but we do have this information here which becomes really important here, because Ping Pong, and I didn't realise why this is now so relevant. Apparently, if you're not aware of the Pizzagate scandal, it was a laptop that was seized from Anthony Weiner, Anthony Weiner, isn't it, I believe, And on there was emails in relation to the Podesta brothers and Hillary Clinton, and a video that purported to show a young woman being tied to ping pong tables in the basement of a restaurant in America before they were tortured, abused, their blood was consumed, their face was apparently skinned from their head. I've never seen the video, but I've spoken to people who have and suggest it is real. But, you know, at the moment I have to say, you know, the evidence is, at the moment, it's more overwhelmingly real that this was real than not. But there is other information that suggests that some of the recent modern day big, if you like, conspiracy events may have been staged to trigger an awakening. So there is information suggesting this may have been. Anyway, let's go back to this. Ping Pong USA, Holdings Limited, and major, I mentioned that, scandal. To the research of the Peatsgate scandal. Yeah. So Vistra Kozek Limited has also been relevant and had been linked to the research of the Jersey Haute de la Grande child trafficking scandal that I told you about earlier, and that links to Dolphin Square. So remember, we are coming in from Stephen Greer, and we have these links now into the document that I've already done, tying these incidents into him now, or to the links to him from it. Okay, so you can see where the motive of what he's doing. Did you notice in the video? Seemed very reluctant to be saying what he was saying. That really, it was certainly scripted, because you could see him reading from the paper and then a screen, but he did not appear to be wanting to say that. I suspect he's being controlled. This was Stephen Greer. And where is it? Yeah, and to the research of Hitler, Disney, the Flemings, linking in with them, the Krays again, and linking in with rocket scientist Werner von Braun. And it connects, as this is Kozek, the company we're just looking at here, to OpenAI UK Limited. Remember, I've been saying for a long time, AI will lead us to our destruction. They are pushing AI now, supposedly, whether that's a deception or not really, but you know, we're getting AI all the time on our phones now, so we can presume it's all real. So therefore, we have to come back and consider a lot of the other stuff is real. And here we have OpenAI, which links to Donald Trump and attempts to enslave the world, according to the research. Elemental Kozek Limited, so it's got the Kozek Limited, and again in it, had been linked to First Island Trustees Limited, with the same name as the former head of the FBI on its incorporation document, and shown in the research of Ben Hootchen and the Teesside area scandal, linked to major areas of the criminal network and to the bloodstock industry, as shown elsewhere in the research. Now, this First Island, remember, there's an offshore parliamentary UK island group that was set up by Bob Seeley, who was the MP for the Isle of Wight, which is where Deborah Fleming had been the NHS chief executive for Hampshire, Isle of Wight and Dorset, who then retired to become involved in my investigation. He set up this informal parliamentary island group, which links to Ghislaine Maxwell. Okay, remember, we've got the evidence of Jersey in here and all of the body parts at Jersey in the Haute de la Grande scandal. And here we have First Island Trustees Limited, and a name appearing to was the same name as the former head of the FBI, Richard Moore. Another record connects to Stephen Greer to Garrick Resources Limited, that had been incorporated in November 2016, 3 months after an apparent ritual took place at CERN, and the same time of reports regarding it causing earthquakes. Remember, the earthquake evidence ties into all of this. How does it become relevant? Well, obviously, I was thinking a lot of the time they're deliberately trying to end all of creation. That's what I was considering. However, the latest evidence now suggests, because it ties in with the alien deception, that what they could be looking to do is try to create wormholes or portals to another time, to turn back time so they didn't actually cause the suffering to the children in the first place, as they've been awoken to their historical criminal network and how it ties into the blood of the children. And this then links in with Varney the vampire and them telling us that they don't want to do it. Now, they're in a very difficult position, aren't they? If they're awakening to the truth of the Creator through me, let's just say it's happening because of what I'm doing as well in this since I was born, then of course they are now very worried about eternal consequences for them, because they're worried if they die, then they are not getting, they're going to be in a very bad place. So what's the other options for them in their mind? Well, if in theory they turned back time, all right, and stopped it ever happening, then the sin would never have actually come about, and they wouldn't face the risk of potentially eternal damnation, and they would just be able to live out and die in a normal life cycle, okay? But of course, they're worried about dying, aren't they? They're worried about dying because of what the consequences are, because of the connection being made to the Creator. So they very likely now they possibly believe in the Creator, and this could be why you've got quite a few of them linked into the religious establishments, but they're also linked into the blood of the children, and they're linked into the massive international criminal network, which all goes against the Creator. It comes back to, I honestly believe their judgment will be fair on if they come forward in truth, full disclosure of the truth, full repentance, which they can show their repentance by a commitment to change. Now, that also means what they're willing to do to submit their livelihood, which they've gained through this fraud. They could demonstrate what they're willing to do, couldn't they? To actually help save themselves through this. Now, I believe if they were to do that, now they've had 4 years, and I have given them every opportunity right from the outset. Before I even went public, they did not do the right thing. So I don't know if it's too late for them. And if I am who it looks as though I am, would I at the moment forgive them for, in terms of, or support a potential forgiveness spiritually so they don't face eternal damnation? I'm getting to the point where I wouldn't. I'm pretty much there. If it was up to me to put all of these people facing eternal damnation, I'm almost at that point. I'm not going to say I am. I'm almost at that point. But I'm still hoping that they're going to come forward in truth. But the longer it goes on, the less likely I personally feel that they deserve any sort of leeway spiritually or whatever, to be honest with you. But I'm trying to give them a way out of this, and I still believe that's the case, but they need to do it now. They need to do it now. I've been saying that for years, for 2 or 3 years. I've been saying, just come out, save yourselves through it. But anyway, this company, Stephen Greer, so another Stephen Greer, it has a registered address in Hampshire, which is where Deborah Fleming had been the NHS chief executive and resigned. I'll just show you that quickly. Another record for Stephen Greer. You can see the address. Southampton, which is in Hampshire, in Dorset. In Hampshire, in the south of England. Now, I think there's something in here. Did we go into something else yet? So, Murray Harold Chancellor connects this company to 7 companies, including Neo Next and Energy ZNI Limited, where they had been appointed from the 12th of November 2010, less than 3 weeks before CERN Limited was incorporated. Now, remember, I was 2010. I would have been 33. So this is when Christ would have been the same age as Christ was crucified, and Neo, the name, relates to a character. You've got the Neo company here, relates to a character in the Matrix. Before what's his name? Leonardo DiCaprio. What's his name? Forgot his name completely. It'll come to me. Keanu Reeves. Before Keanu Reeves dies and becomes resurrected to become the One. Now, I've already researched this, and they've got companies that link back to me that have been created. So you've got Neo, you've got the One Group that makes links to the World Trade Center disaster. You've also got Zion Limited, which becomes relevant to the movies. And they all link in with the Terminator movies, and a continuation with John Connor representing Jesus Christ, it seems. There's references in those movies to Christ. That's my favourite movie, Terminator 2 Judgment Day, came out in 1991. And then they're both obviously trying to stop the machines taking over the world, or whatever the world, in the world in the Terminator movies, and the Zion and whatever the locations are in the Matrix movies. Well, that's exactly what I'm doing, isn't it? I'm trying to stop artificial intelligence leading into transhumanism, trying to stop that all happening against humanity as we go. So anyway, here you have a Neo company. The company had been incorporated in 1995, the same year as the Russian government-linked Hackler International Advisory Board company that links to me via Ingenious Film Partners 2 on page 40 of the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales. Its name had been included. In the word Neo. Oh, here, let's look at it so I know what I'm talking about. Where is it? Oh, it doesn't look like I've put the link. Oh, yes, I have. So Murray Harold Chancellor. So yeah, I've already gone into the link. Murray Harold Chancellor. There you go. Into 7 companies. But it's the first one I've gone into. If I was to look into all of these, I'll find more. I'm a bit mindful of the time actually, and how it's making my eyes sting. Not sting, but tired. And there you go. Oh yeah. So remember earlier we came in from gravity. Okay, the anti-gravity. We had Pinsent Masons. Well, there it is again. So this connects Stephen Greer immediately into the anti-gravity company, which made the critical links that we were speaking about earlier. Here's the 1995. And you can see the names were changed here. There's the Neo name. It was added in 2021. So when I moved back into Exborn Manor is when they changed this name with Neo in it. It didn't have it before. Interesting. It's got some Northern Ireland connections here to the name. And then it changed it again very recently in March 2026, or fairly recently. Berners Paul is in the People record, which links to the End of the World Iona prophecy, which links to the Flemings and back to me. Paul Harris connects this company, the Neo one, to 24 companies, including criminal organisation, the Offshore Energies Association Limited, that had already been linked to the research of Lee Clegg of the World Martial Authority and an affiliation to the United Nations, and an attempt to buy me out. So they tried to see if I would accept £8,000 a month for the next 20 years to be quiet. And of course, no amount of money will make me be quiet. The change in the system is what has to happen to safeguard humanity, safeguard children, and safeguard creation in all of this. I'll live in a tent for the rest of my days if necessary. I'm not accept. Doesn't matter how much money they offer me. It also connected to Amanda Blakeman, who is the former Chief Constable of North Wales, and to the NHS Confederation immediately in from that. That links to major areas of the criminal network, which of course the NHS links back to Deborah Fleming. And remember, the NHS is a healthcare system, and what do? Take the blood from people. They take blood, which means the blood can be put in the system. It creates a motive to actually not save lives, okay? All right, to actually kill people or allow people to die because of the amount of money that is in the blood and the organ harvesting and how that all ties in with this, everybody. So we have a link to the NHS Confederation. We also have, it's also shown, I need to go through the spelling, in the research of one of many apparent, coming in from this chief police officer. It was shown in the research of one of many apparent cover-up investigations since I've been exposing the fraud, and this was of a claimed raid of the royal-linked Plas Glyfron mansion property, which is in Wales, I believe, in April this year. As the exposure continued. Well, that's interesting. What was the other April link here? You had the other April date, didn't you? Coming back anyway. That could be relevant. This information supports the possible theory of attempts to try and use this new technology, might be old, to convince humanity of the existence of aliens as a considered escape plan for their historical criminal network against children, fulfill an apparent plan to destroy Christianity as appears to be the case in the Albert Pike letter to Mazzini, or as a test to establish who will see through the deception. It has to be considered that the deaths of the scientists are false and new identities being given, or that possible suicides are taking place as they realise their part in the deception against children is being revealed. If the deaths were genuinely sinister, as we're being led to consider they were, I doubt very much I would still be alive. Regarding claims that several of the scientists are linked to ancient aliens, this is unbelievable, everybody. So remember, right at the beginning, we had the videos that a lot of these scientists are linked to ancient aliens. So they're trying to convince us that the aliens go back centuries, right? Company's house shows Ancient Aliens Limited had been incorporated on the 23rd of February 2022, the day before Putin announced his special military operation against Ukraine. This is all relative, everybody, all right? They're all working collaboratively together. Make no mistake. This is as I made early inquiries at Exbourne Manor. It dissolved in August 2023 as I was exposing the fraud publicly. Name Macau is the only entry in the people record, and there are no other companies attached. Let me just show you this. So Ancient Aliens Limited. Oh, wow, it's very bright. Look when it was incorporated, 23rd of February 2022. Go and research it, you'll see it was the day after that the announcement happened. It dissolved 2023, so that was 2022, and it dissolved in 2023 as I was starting to publicly expose it. Oh yeah, the name record. So within the people record, there's one entry. Okay? One entry. No other companies, I think, connected. No other companies. Let's have a look at the date. So they were appointed then. Date of birth 1992. Right, so an internet search for this name reveals an article by the National Crime Agency from November 2023 with a slightly different name but the same surname of Ujeza Kamerkaj, whatever, exactly the same surname, having been investigated and imprisoned for being involved in facilitating illegal immigration in the UK. Now notice the timing, November 2023. August 2023, this company dissolved with the same surname, making a critical link in the timing to ancient, aliens. Let this all sink in, everyone. Now look where this leads. So we now have this investigation by the National Crime Agency within this person with the same surname but different first name, having been investigated for the imprisoned for facilitating illegal immigration in the UK and having been arrested in October 2022. As I was escalating inquiries at Exbourne Manor, and the same month that as an interfaith meeting took place involving the Pope and leading to information regarding the Three-Eye Atlas comet, the prophecy of the popes, and myself. The article includes Andy McGill, NCA Senior Investigating Officer, said that this name played a major role as a broker linking migrants with people smugglers who could transport them on dangerous journeys across the channel. Now there's another article that I'll show you that comes later in the evidence that actually links what's her name, it was the Home Secretary, Suella Braverman. I think it's Suella Braverman, it might have been one of the other, I think it is Suella Braverman, but we'll come to that later. And what's his name, Bigger, is it Michael Bigger? No, we'll say surname of Bigger, Mr. Bigger, who is the head of the National Crime Agency. The National Crime Agency and all intelligence agencies' research are implicated in a criminal network and apparent crimes against the children as shown elsewhere. So here's that article, just to show you it, so you can see it. National Crime Agency. Where's the name? There you go, same surname. Ujezez, see it? 32, October 2022. And it mentions the name. This becomes very relevant to, where's the name? There you go. Andy McGill, NCA Senior Investigating Officer. Okay. A search for Andy McGill, NCA Company's house through Google reveals the third result as a document regarding a Congress meeting in relation to American homeland security, including terrorism. We'll come back to that in a minute. The fifth result was a document regarding, and I've got the screenshot showing the search and showing the summary and showing that those links came up. The fifth result was a document regarding a report of the annual accounts of the NHS Colchester Hospital. Now, remember, the exact words that I put in were Andy McGill, where is it? A search for Andy McGill, NCA, which is obviously National Crime Agency, Company's house through Google. That is what I searched. No reason for it to bring up an NHS record unless there's going to be an NHS connection to this name or NCA. All right. And it brought up an American Congress organization based on that search. Okay. Now let's have a look at it. So the fifth result was the NHS connection to the NHS. Deborah Fleming had obviously been retired from the NHS to become involved in my investigation. Before initiating my removal as a director for refusing to file forged bank documents, and both her and the bank involved being critically linked to the blood of the children. The NHS is significantly linked to the criminal bloodstock companies. There is no record of the name of McGill within either of those documents, and there's no, I'll check if there's an NCA. I haven't, but I don't think there. I think the name is what would have been in there, but I'm going to check that later. Despite spelt wrong, them being quickly revealed in the specific search, suggesting the name may have been removed to try and conceal that connection. Now that's huge along with where we go now. Now I know it's getting on a bit here. Do I stop now? What's the next subject? I've got so much evidence. It's huge. I think what I'm going to do another live soon. So I'm going to remember Colchester Hospital, and then the next live I do, unless something more critical comes up for me to do a live, then I will just leave it at, then I'll come back to this so I don't get lost. But it goes in massively now from Colchester Hospital, crimes against the children. It's just overwhelming. It's absolutely overwhelming where that name links. And then what we do is we then come into later, I'll just show you a little here how important it becomes. We link to Disclosure Day, the movie. All right, and it's absolutely huge, everyone. I'm just going to show you the first bit of it if I can. Let me search it. Just to give you a little snippet as to what we're going to be looking at. And also to make them realise it's over. And I'm trying to save them. The only way is full disclosure of the truth. But the longer they leave it, I mean, it's probably too late for them. But I think I could probably be, if I am who it appears I am, then I think I have I think I have the ability to potentially help them, if you like, with what may come, what they may face. So they really need to take that on board. They really need to come forward literally ASAP. They've had 4 years, and what I mean by that is we need full disclosure on all mainstream media, all social media, saying that they've had a criminal organisation in place, that it has had the ability to launder money in relation to the crimes against children, the drug trafficking, the international terrorism, and the conflicts. That has to be the minimal full disclosure, right? Once we have that disclosure, the move towards heaven on earth begins, okay, for everybody, including these people, and potentially a heaven could possibly await them through the full disclosure of the truth, full repentance, and a commitment to change. And that means working with me, collaborating with me to bring in a system that is safeguarding the children, humanity, and ensures this never ever happens again. And it will be heaven on earth, everybody. Make no mistake, it will be amazing. Not an instant amazing. It will take time. But these people, I urge them for their own sake, come forward, publicize this, what I've just said, all social media, all mainstream media, do it as soon as you can. That means tomorrow. All right. The longer you're leaving it, I'm not going to be as I'm not going to be able to influence any, and I won't, I'll be actually praying that you just face eternal judgment, to be honest with you. That is what I'll be praying for. Now, I'm not doing that at the moment. I'm trying to give you a way out, and we safeguard everybody in a transitional process to make this happen. But the longer you leave it and the longer you target me, how can I still have that? How can I still have that ounce of trying to give you a way out and trying to support you in a united element in this? It doesn't mean that you're not going to, because obviously I doubt very much I'm going to actually be able to, choose on what happens to you when you die. But I think I possibly could have an influence on that, maybe. Because if I am who it appears I am, then I think I'm almost guaranteed to have an influence on that. So you really need to be listening to what I'm saying, and you need to be acting on what I'm saying. You really do. You really, really do. I cannot emphasize it enough. And you're the ones that are going to end up, you're the ones that I actually feel sorry for the most in all of this. That's those behind this system and those that are deliberately still facilitating it. And then as a third lot of people, those that are not actually doing anything with this evidence. I think in that order, I'm very, very concerned about people. So it is, we're in this situation. It's not my fault that we've got in this situation. It's not the innocent's fault. These poor people have been living a life they're not meant to live. They are suffering in a way that they're not meant to. It was never meant to be this way. And you didn't need technology to tell you that. You didn't need a book to tell you that. It was written within you. You knew that what you were doing was wrong right from the outset, from the crimes of the children. There was something else I was going to say, but I've forgotten. I'm getting tired. I'm going to leave it at that for now tonight. Thank you so much for watching. So we're going to come back in, hopefully, and look at the evidence coming in from it. It just gets mind-blowing. Oh, I was going to show you something, wasn't I? I got talking. Let me just show you this quickly. So I was talking myself out of doing it then. So we're looking for Disclosure Day. Disclosure. Just give you a little snippet as to how massive this now becomes. So Disclosure Day, as I'm sure you're aware, was a movie that came out this year, very, very recently. American science fiction thriller, directed by Steven Spielberg, from a screenplay by David Cope, or Cope, however you pronounce that, based on a story by Spielberg. The film stars an ensemble cast including Emily Blunt, Josh O'Connor, Colin Firth, Eve Hewson, and Coleman Domingo. A separate search reveals the synopsis of the movie. I'm not going to go into that at the moment. I'm just going to show you the importance of, if we go back to my TikTok.
Of the earth. It has been...
So these are the videos that I have published. As you can see, they have still not allowed these two videos. So this is one of them. Look. They've still not allowed it to be posted, but they're not removing it, which means they are very worried about releasing this evidence. All right, this has going in, it's moved on a little bit from what I'm showing you. Show you this poster because this is relevant. So this is the main poster for Disclosure Day, and you'll notice the eye here being shown. Well, the eye becomes very relevant to the bloodline of Christ and the all-seeing eye. It's on the top of the pyramid on the $1 bill, and myself and Contact A connect to the all-seeing eye company. All right, there's other world, not World Vision, Global Eye. There's Global Eye companies that also make critical links into all of this. This also makes a reference to Horus's eye, or the Horus eye, which links into Egyptology as well. Now you'll notice the shape of the bird around here. That's a bird shape. That is the cardinal bird, okay? And the cardinal bird links to the Vatican. All right, so I'm going to leave that with you, and you can imagine where it's going to lead. It's just massive. So next time we come on, hopefully I'll get to that evidence to show you how this all ties in with the Vatican, to the blood of the children again, and how this is all, it seems, a deception as their last final potential escape route, rather than other than time travel attempts, which could lead to the end of all of creation, or an event to end most of the lives of the innocent, which I don't think is going to happen, because I think they're starting to realise the consequences now in continuing with their potential plans. So it comes back to the only way out is what I've said. But yeah, this all becomes really, really relevant. And please come and watch my next live. I'm not too sure when I'm going to be doing it, but I'll keep an eye on my TikTok. And I do need as many people as possible, because they have stopped my TikTok lives on my normal channel, which is Gary for Freedom. Please go and join that anyway. They've postponed it, so I can't use the live. I have a secondary account called Gary for Freedom 2. Please write that down now, and please go and sign up to it, because I need to get this evidence out to as many people as I can. And it seems as though TikTok is a great place to do it. So it's Gary for Freedom is one of my accounts on TikTok. The other one is Gary for Freedom 2 with the number 2. And it's Gary, 1R, with the word for Freedom 2. Please go and sign up to that straight away, or whatever it is you do on TikTok. Like it, sign up to it, subscribe, whatever it is. Because I need to get my lives out to more people. All right, and the lives are just going to get more relevant. Big I've got now is way bigger than anything I'm showing you here. It's massive, but I'm trying to get this alien evidence out, because it is to counteract what appears to be their final trump card, if you like. This probably is the Donald Trump card for them to play, is the alien deception. And you will be given a choice, and you need to start making that choice now. Do you believe in a creator which leads to salvation, or do you believe in aliens that leads to devastation and the end of all of creation through humanity's continued drive towards materialism and technology? Thanks very much for everyone for watching. Really appreciate it. All the best. Bye bye.